something. I like your testimony. Really close to you. Oh, maybe you want to use that one.
Welcome everybody. Aloha kako. Thank you for being here. I'm Lou Chang. I have been asked, I'm a private arbitrator mediator. I have been asked to serve as the hearing officer for tonight. And so my job will be to receive your testimony. And we'll explain what our process and procedure as we go along. We have a facilitator here, Dr. Peter Adler. He's here to help us have a productive discussion. And he's going, after these introductory remarks, he'll walk us through the process that he set up and will explain the protocol and how we will handle the taking of the testimony. We have a number of persons from the Department of Health as well here. We have Keith Kawaoka. Keith is sitting in the back. We have Janice Okubo here. She is the Public Information Officer for the Department of Health. And from the Clean Water Branch, we have a number of people. Daryl Lum. Where did he disappear to? Oh, here. He will walk through and explain the general information slides that have been prepared. We also have Colin Muraoka in the back, and we have Neil Bukai, who's helping with the sign in and from people who want to provide testimony. So I think that's it from the Department of Health. Okay, let's talk about the purpose and the focus of this hearing. This hearing is to seek public input and comment on a pending request for the renewal of a National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit. And we're going to refer to it probably by the acronym NPDES. That's just referring to the permit. And it's related to the TMT project on Mauna Kea. This is a discretionary hearing. The Department of Health, the Director of the Department of Health, however, wanted to have it because he wanted to receive your input and your comments for his information and consideration in deciding what action to take on this application for the renewal of this NPDES permit. So that's our purpose tonight, is to receive your comments and concerns. You're going to be able to do it in a number of ways. You're going to be able to orally provide it. If you have prepared written, I don't know if anybody has prepared written testimony, you can submit written testimony. We will also be receiving written testimony if you'd like to submit it anytime until July the 2nd.
Oh, you put that on? Okay.
So next week, Tuesday. So
Earlier than 10, 12:30 a day.
yeah, right. So we thought, so if you haven't and you want to, you still can, and just send it to the attention of the Clean Water Branch. Okay. So our focus is on this permit and the renewal, so we should have an understanding what the purpose of the permit is. The purpose of this NPDES permit is to provide conditions for the safe management of stormwater discharge during the construction activity. The Department of Health will work with the contractor to ensure conditions are in place to safely manage stormwater discharge during the construction process. The hearing and the extended written comment period is to allow the public to provide their comments on that renewal. At this time, the Department of Health is not aware of any necessary changes to the permit, or the conditions of the conditions of the permit are not changed since it was originally issued about 5 years ago. During the public comment period, if new information is presented that changes the conditions of the permit, that would be what would be considered by the Department of Health. So this hearing, as a public comment hearing, we're not going to have general questions and answers necessarily. It's really to hear from you. If you do have questions, however, you are welcome to direct the questions to the Clean Water Branch, and they will try to answer them. And I think their plan is to post it on their website. So if you do have questions, there's a mechanism for submitting your questions and getting some answers to it as well. We also have Wendy Graves here. She is a professional court stenographer reporter. So she is going to be preparing a transcript of your testimony, and that transcript is going to be provided to the Director of Health for his information and consideration on this permit.
You can put that online too.
The plan is also, I think, put it on the webpage. I think the plan is to put as much as possible on the webpage so that you can refer to it and get more information. We are also preparing a video. We have a video camera in operation, so if you're uncomfortable with that, you should know about it. Do what you feel. Okay, so I've told the video camera behind me, and that's the other camera, and then maybe media camera. Okay, I mentioned written testimony. So we covered that. Mentioned questions. I think it's now, I can turn it over to Dr. Adler and he can walk us through the process that we're going to be using tonight.
One question. I would think that you're not coming up with us. You're not coming up with a ranking or non-ranking.
That is not the function of tonight. That's the Director of Health's call after he considers your comments.
And I just point of clarification, just to be certain, so Bruce decided that he wanted to hear public comments, so he's actually optioning for this to happen, right?
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Please give him my thanks for that.
Okay, very good.
Bruce Anderson.
So, let me talk for a few minutes about how we're going to run today. First of all, I just want to say it's nice to be here in this cool room. Because it's hot in Honolulu too. It's hot outside there, but you guys are used to it. So, and it's good to see Kalani and Tonga and Ron and a few others that I know here. So it's nice to be here. Thank you for allowing us to be here too. So you've heard the purpose of this. Just some more logistical things. There's restrooms outside, but my understanding is that they are closed because they're under repair. So you have to talk to the mayor about that. That's not my job. So, but across the way there is restrooms that are open. There's a water fountain outside. If there's a fire, I don't expect one, but you know the way out. It's right behind you. So we want to hear from everybody. We want to hear from anybody who wants to put their comments on the record, and that's going to be our role tonight, is to take that record. We're not here to answer questions. It's not a panel discussion. We're here to hear from you and put those comments there on the record so that there's a permanent record of it. To help us be efficient in this, I know we've all been to meetings that can turn into chaos, and we're trying not to do that. We really want to do it. I know that there are strong feelings about Mauna Kea and about TMT, so I don't pretend like that they're not there. On the other hand, we have a very specific focus tonight, and we want to be very efficient in trying to gather your ideas and thoughts about that. We don't have that many people in the room, but later on we may want to ask people who are in line to testify to go up in the front row. Right now it's pretty easy because it's a smaller group. I'm going to ask people to try to confine their comments to 3 minutes, and I'm anticipating there may be other people still coming in. So I don't want to say 5 minutes now and then 3 minutes later. So we'll start with 3 minutes. And I also want to apologize in advance if I have to interrupt you on that. We have a couple of mechanical things that can help with this. One is we ask people to, when they come and testify, I'll call them up by name if I can read it, and I apologize if I mangle any names. But we'll ask you to sit there, and Wendy's going to be able to see you and hear very carefully what you say and capture it in that record. Please state your name, and if you have an affiliation you want recorded, you're free to say that, and then just go right to the heart of it. If you have long written comments, please don't read them. Go try to summarize them as best you can. Now we know some of you may have comments that are more than 3 minutes, so use the 3 minutes, and then go back and sign in, and we'll do a second round, time permitting. So we want to let everybody talk. Yes?
Hi, I believe in the public public notice for this meeting, it said that you would only be limiting testimony if there are 50 or more testifiers. I don't believe there's 50 people signed in to testify.
When there's more coming, we believe, so we'll assume that. And we will allow everybody who wants to speak. That's our job. That's to permit that. So to keep to the 3 minutes, there's an iPad there that we put down this countdown clock. And Daryl is going to be, he's got, you can see that. So that's something that you can see if you're up at the table. And it's not meant to intimidate you, but it's meant to sort of help and say, here's where you're at. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to use these. Daryl's our flag man. So he's got 30 seconds warning and a stop warning. So we're trying to make this as expeditious as we can. Everybody has been to meetings that got completely sideways and disjointed or hijacked, and people who came and wanted information didn't get it, and people who wanted to offer comments didn't get a chance, and that's frustrating. So our whole goal tonight is to try to manage this with aloha and respect for both this process and for the intent of the meeting. So we're going to ask people for a few common courtesies. One is stick to the topic and get right to the heart of the things that you want to say. And please exercise common courtesies and respect diverse points of view. We know there are diverse points of view. So I'm going to ask people to, you may hear things you disagree with. Booing and clapping, can we let it go? Can we just let it go? And just hear each other and listen, do a lot of good listening to each other. So that's the ground rules. And I'm going to be over there monitoring and helping with this and kind of wandering around here. Yes? Is there a question on procedure?
Yes.
Okay.
So the first time I spoke, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, but I thought you said there was a
Peter Adler.
Sorry, not you, but the person who spoke.
Lou Chang.
Lou Chang, hi. You said that there was a process to submit questions that would be put up on the website, and then, but you also said that we're not here tonight to answer questions. So
No, you can submit your questions, leave them in writing while we're on the table.
Okay.
Submit them, and we'll post them, and somebody will try to respond to them.
But we're not answering questions here tonight.
No.
Okay.
That's not our job, and I'm not qualified to do it anyway.
I know, but there's staff from
Yeah,
CWD,
but they also are not set up to do that.
Okay.
That wasn't their intent. Okay, so let's do this. If you can hold on, I'd like to introduce Daryl, who is an environmental engineer with the Clean Water Branch, and he's going to walk us through 5 slides. Somebody told me once years ago that PowerPoint is a tool for mesmerizing chickens. So we're not going to do that. With 5 slides, we kept it down to a limit. And if we have a lot of people who come in later, we may show it one more time. The other thing I'm really aware of is Wendy needs a break every once in a while. If you've ever done this kind of stuff, she's going to need a break, so we're going to take short breaks, maybe every hour, 15 minutes, something like that. Wendy, you flag us if you need that break. Daryl.
Okay, I'm going to stand here because our cords are a little short. Colin, could you please turn on the light a little? Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Daryl Lung. I'm with the Department of Health Clean Water Branch. I want to thank you for coming to the hearing tonight. And before we get to the main part of the hearing, which is receiving your comments, I'm going to give you a short summary of the renewal NPDES permit that was public notice for the TMT International Observatory. As Lou and Peter mentioned, we're not going to be answering questions, but any concerns that is raised to the hearing or through your written comments, the Clean Water Branch is going to address, and we are going to post it on our website, our responses. Okay, so I'm going to start off first with what is an NPDES permit. Okay, NPDES stands for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. The NPDES permit ensures that the state's mandatory standards for clean water and the federal minimum requirements are being met. The NPDES permit contains limits on what can be discharged, it contains monitoring and reporting requirements, and it contains provisions to ensure that the discharge does not hurt water quality or people's health. The focus of the renewal NPDES permit for the TMT construction is on stormwater discharging during construction activities. The purpose of the renewal NPDES permit is to authorize stormwater to run off the construction site and discharge to state surface waters. So when it rains and that water falls from the sky and hits the ground, that water that hits the ground is called stormwater runoff. So that's what the permit is authorizing. The reason why this type of permit was needed from the Clean Water Branch is that the land disturbance activities for the construction of the observatory, the access road, and the staging areas are going to exceed 1 acre. So it's this 1 acre threshold that triggers this type of permit requirement. Okay, and the conditions of the renewal NPDES permit are the same as the permit that was issued in 2014. The renewal NPDES permit contains pollution control measures, which are meant to minimize or to mitigate potential pollutants that could be present at the construction site and picked up with the stormwater runoff. So some of these requirements include things like soil and erosion control requirements. So for example, the permit requires that all exposed areas immediately downslope of these exposed areas, there's some type of structural control device, like a silt fence or a filter berm, that is used to protect this area in case it rains. There's also requirements for stockpile protection, dust control, for stabilizing exposed areas. There's requirements for good housekeeping practices, for waste and storage handling, inspections, reporting, corrective actions, and staff training. Okay, so all of these pollution control requirements that's in the renewal NPDES permit have been modeled after the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA's, requirements for this type of stormwater discharge. Okay, so this is the Clean Water Branch's contact information. Our phone number is 808-586-4309. And our email address is cleanwaterbranch@doh.hawaii.gov. Okay, so again, thank you for coming out tonight, and we look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Darrell. Just one more point, and that is we have the room until 8 o'clock. I think we should be able to accommodate everybody in that time frame. And again, we're going to try and stick to 3 minutes comments and testimonies. And if you want to go longer than that, go back to Colin and Neil at the table and sign in again. We have 11 people so far, I think. Maybe there's a couple more who signed in. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to just move my chair. Yes, Uncle.
I just want to make a comment. We have a Clean Water Branch in Joe. It doesn't seem to have anything. I mean, every time when I finally figure out where it is, because it's changing, they don't have the documents that your report say you go to them and get.
Why don't I suggest that you make that comment on the record?
Okay.
A little later on. Yeah, you should do that when you speak, because that's the kind of stuff that we want to know. Okay, so Wendy, over to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Wendy.
My name is Wendy Green.
There we go.
Is that okay? My name is Wendy Green. Is it not loud enough? Am I too far away from it?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Can I sing?
Thank you.
If you have an affiliation, then you can share that.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to present my concerns tonight. I oppose the proposed NPDES permit for the TNT International Observatory. The upper levels of Mauna Kea are designated as critical habitat for the Palila, and discharges of pollutants from the TNT project could affect their access to clean water and have an effect on the Mauna trees that they are dependent on for food. This includes the possible construction of the TNT mid-level facility. The steady decline of the Palila in recent years means that we haven't done enough, and that further negative impacts should be stopped before they become extinct. The TMT action area certainly extends into these critical habitat areas, and no mitigation measures could possibly remedy the effects and disturbances these pollutants will have to these areas. I would like to request that you fulfill your obligation under the Endangered Species Act to ensure that any action you authorize will not jeopardize the existence of the Palila or destroy or adversely modify any designated critical habitat. In the Mauna Kea Watershed Management Plan, dated April of 2010, it states that very little information exists about specific aquatic pollutants originating in the Mauna Kea Watershed Alliance area, and that a number of streams originating on the slopes of Mauna Kea exceed state water quality standards for turbidity and nutrients. There's obviously not enough data to exclude past construction and present conditions pertaining to that construction on Mauna Kea as a primary source for that issue. I think we all know that TMT received an NPDES permit with little or no challenge 5 years ago. That's probably because those who stand as Mauna protectors and water protectors are grassroots individuals, some of whom have put their lives on hold for the past 2 years or more to fight a system that has failed them time and time again. I'm asking that you don't fail them this time, and that you look into each and every concern before you make a decision on this permit. Spills of oil, sewage, and hazardous chemicals have been repeatedly reported by researchers working on the summit. The potential for more spills is extremely high, given the fact that chemical sewage wastewater will need to be trucked up and down the Mauna. In addition, the TMT Observatory and a portion of the access road would create 2 acres of impervious surfaces that would cause runoff. Very little seems to be known about the hydrology on Mauna Kea. I would like to request that more extensive research be done before a permit is issued. It's my understanding that not all of the receiving waters have been documented, so anything that happens thereafter, we wouldn't know whether that was a contaminant from them or not. Protected and endangered species and their critical habitat is necessary, and we hope that you'll do everything that you can. Mahalo for your time.
Wendy, thank you for trying to stick to the time limits. So Cheryl Burkhart, you're on. Wendy, is this working? Okay.
Aloha, everybody. I'm Cheryl Burkhart. I'm from Honolulu, Oahu. Sorry, I'm adjusting to these guys right now. I'm coming to you next. Proud to be here. Today we are Aloha, Cheryl Burkhart, Honolulu, Oahu. I'm here today in opposition to the permit being issued again. Thank you for providing us with an opportunity to present our concerns. There is nothing more vital to life than water. Clean water availability on Mauna Kea has a direct impact on the health of forests and the animals, insects, and birds, as well as plants that live there. The loss of access to clean water or water pollution can even lead to extinction for some of our most vulnerable species, including the critical endangered Palila on Mauna Kea. Has enough been done to ensure that the Palila, whose critical habitat is found on the upper slopes of Mauna Kea, is protected? And actually in my written testimony, there's some pictures there. And I'm not going to keep reading all of this, but I do want to hit on a couple important points. The possible construction by TMT of a mid-level facility in Mauna Kea could also destroy more critical habitat. No recent sightings of Palila or the little moth, which I've forgotten its name, or the baking bug, or anything that hasn't been sighted there recently does not give us a good reason to construct buildings there. This backward thinking is a conservationist nightmare. On the contrary, we should be working towards preserving those areas so that the Palila and any other indigenous species can return, instead of destroying their habitat further so they cannot. Another concern I have is whether any of the historic sites, traditional cultural properties, or fine spots will be in jeopardy due to the construction runoff. I think a more in-depth analysis of the hydrology on Mauna Kea is necessary before it can be determined whether or not the construction of the TMT on this large of a scale will have long-lasting effect on the aquifers and water resources on Mauna Kea. This telescope, if built, would be the tallest by far in the astronomy precinct. The sediment and pollution will be greater than ever before and may pose threats to those areas as well as to important sources of drinking water and has the potential to exceed water quality standards. Effectively evaluating the long-term and cumulative effects the possible construction of the TMT would have to the waterways is of paramount concern. I believe that more complex studies should be done before issuing a permit. Oh, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks so much. Deborah Ward.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Ward. I remember speaking to Peter Adler 10 years ago, maybe that longer, when he was doing the Keystone analysis of whether or not the TMT should be built, and he pointed out that there were several concerns that would be challenges for building the TMT, and they certainly have come to fruition. I'm actually formally a petitioner on the last contested case with regard to the TMT, so I'm very familiar with the documents that were produced as a result of the contested case. And remarkably, because I've pointed out these challenges and substantial contradictions between what the documents that were proposed to DLNR and the documents that were proposed to the Department of Health, because they substantially contradict each other, I'm going to point out a few of them, and it's unfortunate that we only have 3 minutes to do it. So I'm going to cut to the chase for now, because I really do want to have a second bite at the apple in terms of speaking. But I want to point out that, sorry, the storms, including wintertime cold fronts, upper level and surface low pressure systems, tropical depressions, and hurricanes provide the majority of annual precipitation over time. And this is from the federal FEIS, the final EIS. The applicant's evidence indicates that surface runoff at the summit does not extend below an elevation of 6,000 feet, which means that the majority of the water ultimately ends up percolating and becoming groundwater recharge with only a small amount lost to rapid evaporation. And the groundwater flowing downslope is the source for seeps and streams found between 8,500 and 11,000 feet in the Pohakaloa gulches and the Waikaha-Lulu gulches. There is evidence that the water discharging at the seeps and springs is derived from recent rainfall across the upper slopes of Mauna Kea, and this comes from the the comprehensive management plan for Mauna Kea. The threats that are, I have 8 pages of testimony, I'm trying to do it in 3 minutes. Spills of oil, sewage, and hazardous chemicals have repeatedly been reported by researchers, and this is in the FEIS Appendix K, and those include oil, which takes a very long time to biodegrade because of cold and dry conditions. Okay, I'm going to go to the last paragraph and hope that I get called again. Sierra Club members use the downstroke sleeves, streams, and land areas for recreation, including hiking, camping, photography, tree planting, bird watching, and recreational enjoyment. That use is separate and distinct from that of the general public, and Sierra Club members also live above and drink from the waters of the Waimea Aquifer, which according to the applicant's documents and the sworn witness will be impacted by polluted surface runoff. So, cutting to the chase, we ask that you deny the permit and hold a contested case hearing and inform the decisions on the permit prior to permitting consideration. And we cite HRS Chapter 342D, HAR 11-1-22, and the Hawaiian Constitution, Article 1, Section 5, Article 11, Section 109, and Article 12, Section 7. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deborah. Can you go back and sign in and get, so we come around again.
She has some vital information.
She's gonna come back around. She'll come back around. So, let's keep going. Hanalei. Uncle Henry.
Hello, I'm Hanalei Ferguson. I'm the spokesperson for Nakapuna Local Kiabi, which is a Kapuna organization that has representatives from all 6 districts of this island. I have to apologize. My computer just did strange things this afternoon, so I didn't get my testimony typed out. I have it on my computer. But I also wanted to point out the difficulty to get this information in the first place. This entire stack of paper, which included a FOIA and everything else, just to get the documents that was supposed to be according to your first notice on your e-viewer. And it took weeks before that ever came out. I'm not saying somebody did something wrong. I'm saying maybe it would have been smart if you would have checked that it was actually there before you told everybody it was there. And then it was kind of humiliating to have somebody tell me that I would need to do a FOIA or a request for government document for something that's within 2 weeks. You would think it would be on the desk. And you asked me to point this out. You have a Hilo office of the Clean Water Branch of the Health Department in Hilo that has moved twice. It's a small little office. But a couple times I've been directed to go there. They never have what you claim they have. So somehow or another, they're not getting the material that you folks are claiming, or at least you're saying that that information is picked up at that office. They don't have it. They haven't had it for 2 different things I've done for. And so that might be something wrong with it. Anyway, I would first like to start to say that I'm in opposition to this permit. Let's see. And this testimony I have is actually just about done, but my computer started acting really stupid, so I couldn't get it printed out, but I will have it to you. I'm glad that you extended your time for written, because today at 4:30 was on the agenda, on the notice, so I'm glad you extended that. That's going to be helpful. Anyway, we're very concerned about how hard, well, I talked about how hard it was to get the information and what it took to get. A very big concern that we're having is that this is a request for a permit. You've said it several times, we're going to get all this information and we're going to decide. A couple days ago, your governor, your president for your university and your attorney general made the statement that this permit was not a problem because it was already given. Now, if that's not the case, what's the purpose of a hearing? And it's because of this stuff, I'm going to call for a contested case, because there are so many things that we finally found out once we got the documents that was not part of the contested case, and I know because I was a party to the contested case. And in a limited time period where we only have 3 minutes to discuss things, it's not enough time to really get into the guts of what we really want to talk about. And that kind of condition would be best satisfied in a contested case. So as Dr. Winnamoko Kiabu, we are calling for a contested case. Thank you very much.
Thanks. So, Kalani Souza.
Sorry to be so slow. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha. Makeo kalani ke ulani koko mea D'Souza with the University of Hawaii National Disaster Preparedness Training Center, FEMA. I'm the National Community Outreach Coordinator for Tribal, Indigenous, and Rural Communities. I'm also with National Center of Atmospheric Research, with part of the Rising Voices, Indigenous practitioners, traditional practitioners in modern science working towards adaptation strategies. Also part of PRIMO, Pacific Risk Management, OHANA, locally based 29 federal, state, and county agencies, as well as academia working to develop adaptation strategies and mitigation to handle the changing climate. All that being said, I'm in opposition to the extension of the permit. I want to thank Bruce Anderson for giving the public the opportunity to comment like this. That's very important. I've known Bruce my whole life, and I want to take this time in the comments section to move away from the traditional comments and make a plea to those at the Department of Health. My Hanai sister was also the director of the Department of Health, so I have some experience with that organization. They take their job seriously, so thank you for coming down here. As you know, the construction will break through the surface strata. There's no way during the construction phase for them to control stormwater. As you've heard before, most of the water seeps into the ground table. In India presently, the population is literally running out of water. This is going to become a global issue within this decade to risk the health of the population of all of the islands of Hawaii by risking our main aquifer, one of the great treasures that we control here in this region, is foolishness. Foolishness of the highest order. This construction project will put at risk this great aquifer. I'm opposed to this. I don't see how anybody with any kind of science background can condone this activity. Water will be critical to the human race. Mahalo.
Thank you. Julie Stahl.
Aloha. Aloha and mahalo for the opportunity to provide comments on the NPDES permit for the TMT. I tried to view the out-of-date permit on the website, but it was unavailable despite a statement on the Water Pollution Control website stating that all NPDES documents can be viewed and downloaded. Nothing related to the 2019 filings for this permit, HIS 000431, are available. The public has not been able to review the application, so I'm asking that the comment deadline be extended and we be able to view this. I'm questioning the issuance of the notice to proceed by the state last week, as since this permit expired by its own terms on June 11th. The permit was in fact not renewed prior to the June 20th issuance. I'm asking that you do not issue a water pollution control permit for the TMT. From what I've heard about the permit application, it raises a lot of questions, and I think we should be able to really understand what is going to be done. Conservation should mean conservation. Please do not allow the aquifers below Mauna Kea to be jeopardized. You are the clean water branch of the Department of Health. Please help us to trust that you are protecting the waters. Water is life. Mahalo.
Thank you so much. Susan Rosie.
Good afternoon. My name is Susan Rossier, and I did submit my written testimony. lot of times listen to what people have had to say so far, everything that I've heard before, and nobody seems to be listening because we always have hearings where nobody hears. And I appreciate the efforts that you folks have made tonight in actually hearing. I just hope people are listening once we finish this process. I have a concern about the process. Certainly, that's easy for me. I have a concern about the process, and I'm sure you folks, your side of the process is really good, but as Julie said, their initial permit was not even available for anybody to view. And if you wanted to go beyond and look at some of the supporting documents, you had to go through the process of the Freedom of Information Act. And why did we have to stop and go through the process where we apply through the Freedom of Information Act for something that's supposed to be already available for the public? I can understand that process when we're looking at archival material, but something that's coming up for a permit, all those documents should be available for the public to look at immediately. Okay, so those are some of my comments. As far as the water goes, so I'm, and I can't see your thing, so I'll go by your flags because it's glary out. I was in construction at a time of my life, and for 35 years I was a diesel mechanic assistant. The oil that comes from, and I understand what was said about the company that's doing the construction, they were consulted. So I'm going to tell you that one of the people that I worked for was that company, and they're not any different than any other company. In fact, I like that company a lot better than most of them. But the common people don't understand what really goes on in construction. And your number one problem with any piece of equipment is blowing hoses. And up there, the atmosphere goes from extreme heat to extreme cold. The hoses are going to be a huge problem. And when they go everywhere. They're under pressure, go everywhere. The other problem with wastewater is you're going to need a lot of tankers going up and down, water trucks constantly keeping the area saturated so that the dust doesn't hit the observatories and mess with their equipment. So I'd like to know from you, and this is a question that you can take back, I'd like to know if the health department, the water division, has looked into how many trucks it's going to be operating, not only at the TMT site, but also down at the construction going on at the NARS, and how many gallons of water are going to be distributed daily and nightly, because they intend to work nighttime too, and then what provisions are being made for that water, because it does on and it does run, and how are they going to deal with the contamination from the equipment, which has already contaminated the soil up there. And I hope you can stick around.
Please go back and sign in. Please come back. Thank you so much.
Oh, and I also, based on what I told you in the first place, I would like a contested case hearing.
So noted. Okay, Josephine Calipo. Apologies. Sorry.
Aloha. I am Josephine Kiliipio, and I don't have a prepared speech or anything, but I want to thank Bruce Anderson for letting us, have this meeting. And after hearing much of the testimony so far, this is something serious. I had a question after looking at that map and all the gulches. What's the volume of water that's going to be, you know, coming out from a storm? Like, what is it? How many cubic tons? So with that in mind, I think I'm totally against the renewal of this permit. I think we don't have enough information to go by. And I'm for a contested case hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. Shelley Monioka.
My name is Shelly Muneoka. I'm here testifying on behalf of Kahea, the Hawaiian Environmental Alliance, and our over 10,000 supporters. A lot of things in our testimony have already been covered, so I just want to hit a few of the high points. We all saw the press conference last week with the governor, the AG, UH president, and Suzanne Case. And AG Connor said that there was a 30-day comment period and the public had a robust opportunity to comment. But that was only partially true because the 30-day comment had been open, but it had not yet finished. And then the notice to proceed was issued, which caused this confusing situation that we all find ourselves in now. Constitutional law tells us that due process means the right to be heard at a meaningful time and place, but we've been deprived of that because the notice to proceed was already issued. The NPDES rules require that this permit is reviewed every 5 years, the point and purpose of which is to consider new evidence and circumstances, including property rights of Hawaiian cultural practitioners, which could be vindicated through contested case hearing. After alerting our base that this comment period was ending, 575 unique submissions were attempted to be made at the time of the start of this hearing. However, we're receiving notice that the emails were being bounced back, which is evidence of people that wanted to engage this process but weren't able to. My own email, actually written comments, was returned just prior. So some people have spoken to the fact that, or it was said tonight that there's no significant changes between the 2014 and 2019 permit applications. However, we have no way to assess that because those documents were not online. And I called the office to find out, actually I didn't know that the 2019 filing was different than the 2014, that they had to file something separate. I thought what was available online was the documents that were being discussed today. And we're being told that they're the same, but we have no way to assess that for ourselves, which is a problem. Tonight it was said that the question and answer will be uploaded to this server, but I would like to know how, because when I found out that the 2019 filings weren't uploaded, I was told that the servers were full, and so that they're unable to upload new documents. And I'm wondering if that's why the emails were being bounced back as well. And so the July 2nd extension, while appreciated, is not enough if the server issues an address by next week Tuesday. There's no point if people still aren't able to submit their comments. I also wanted to talk about the baseline assessments on the receiving water. So 4 of the 5 of them, when I looked at the 2013 and 2018 water quality reports, were not listed in the assessment report. So I would like some clarity on how the Class 2 designation was given. I spoke to a staff at the Clean Water Branch who explained to me that any water that runs over like a natural preserve is given Class 1 designation, and everything else is given a Class 2 designation, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's really important that these streams be assessed prior to the start of the project so that if there is an incident that we can assess whether or not that was the quality of the stream was already degraded or if it is the result of the construction project. And my time is up, so I guess I'm signing back in. But I would like it on the record, if possible, that I QA'd this 3-minute time limit because the public notice said that would only be imposed if there are 50 or more testifiers, which I don't think we're near to that amount.
Thank you. Thank you, Shelley. Mariah, Dan Joseph. I'm sorry if I'm mangling your name. Apologies.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha. So I'm sitting here with my daughter, and I just found out about this hearing only through Facebook. There was no, I wasn't told that I didn't see it in the paper, so I just came here with my auntie and my uncle because I strongly oppose this permit or the issue of this permit. I do not see how we would be able to monitor the streams. I know that with climate change, things are rapidly changing in our environments. And how are we going to know that unless we have people that are showing us and doing their job as the clean water? So I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to say that I strongly oppose this. And I don't know how we can keep these aquifer clean if there's tons of stuff being dumped into it. Driving on the Hamakua coast, I look up and I see the water gushing down. And my children play in those waters. And my grandchildren will be playing in those waters. And I oftentimes cannot let my children play in water, especially on the mainland, because it's completely polluted. However, here, that's not the case. And I do not want to see that going to happen here, especially in our aquifers that need to be kept safe for my children and for all of the children that are yet to be born and that are here, and for all of my elders. That is our water, that is our life. And to know that somebody up there is dumping right up at our source and polluting that water is absolutely not okay with me, and it's absolutely not okay with my ohana. So I strongly oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shelly. I'm sorry. Shannon Rudolph.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha, mahalo. Mahalo for coming. I see that the state has already issued a notice to proceed for the TMT construction, the proposed TMT construction. So are comments here today a waste of everyone's time? I'm asking that this permit be denied. Contested cases should be granted to ensure the people's right to a clean and healthy environment, and are considered, I want a contested case considered prior to issuing this permit. As I understand it, pre-construction conditions have not been met. No adequate baseline assessment for water quality has been done for the many streams, and not much is really known about the hydrology of the Mana. And this permit has already expired, so I don't understand why we're supposed to be commenting now. A lapse permit points to the need for a new 2019 notice, especially if documents for the public can't be easily found online in order for residents to make meaningful comments. Start over. This expired permit needs to be denied with so many unanswered questions still outstanding and so many questions being ignored. Our drinking water is far too important to rush through half-a-colate decisions without solid scientific facts. Start over, deny this permit. Mahalo.
Thank you. I want to make sure I've got the right order here. So that was Shannon. Shauna Dawn.
Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.
I want a contested case hearing. I oppose this permit. And my name is Shamadan, and I live on the foothills of Mauna Kea, Umau, on the Hamakua. You have made it clear that the Mauna has been desecrated. Why would you build a 5-acre, how many stories underground telescope? It makes no sense. It's like saying we have already desecrated the earth we stand on, so let's keep doing it. Seems to be the greedy mind's mentality. Never enough. I say it's already too much, no more. Of course, there will be pollution. It's a 5-year project. Let's be real for a change. A lot of pollution to our sacred waters, sky, and land. Not to mention, it is a dormant volcano. Anything could happen when she has had enough. When are you people going to start listening to the Hawaiians who have lived here and cared for the Aina for a very long time? They need to be honored for once. So much harm has been done, not just to their sacred mauna, but to their souls. Make it right, make it pono for once. Think of what is pono, not profitable. Sacred places are disappearing every day. We do not have a lot left. We must protect what we have. What are you going to say to your great-grandkids, if you make it that far? That you help to preserve and honor what is sacred in nature, or that you were supporting the rape and pillage of our planet? I'm almost done. We will stand and protect. We will stand and protect. And this will go down in history. Which side will you be on? I choose love, not fear. Protection, not desecration. Mahalo to all of you who care so deeply and continue to show up. Remember, you reap what you sow. See you on the mountain.
Thank you, Shaman Dawn. Martha Lent.
I'd just like to offer a Kool-Aid. I was just on the mountain. I was just on the top of the mountain. And that's the prayer. Because if you've ever been on top of a mountain, you know that we don't need anything else up there. It's perfect. It was always perfect. We especially don't need something banging, 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 banging for years and years and years. How about yourself? Did you do that? How would your temple be if you did that? You got the wrong focus. So I am totally against the renewal. I never was even asked about the first one that you go on. You know, the first plan. But it doesn't seem to involve really generations and generations and generations of people. And that's what we are. You know, we have enough knowledge. We already have all that. What we want to foster is our children and the families. So I don't really have any faith at all that the university knows what they're doing, or the state, or the Department of Planning. You have already proved to be rotten. So I don't know about the water department either. So I mean, that looks very invasive. That's not the message that I get from the mountain. The mountain wants to bring us together. Doesn't want to separate. That's not the truth. So I would like to bring this to a contested case as well.
Thank you, Martha. Okay, we're going to take, I know many of you have scientific training, so we're going to take a 4.7-minute break and allow our car reporter to stretch her legs and get a drink of water. So don't go away. Come back in 4.7 minutes.
don't mind, I'd like to stand. I'd like to stand for the Mauna, like the Mauna.
No, that's the same thing.
For the children, for the keiki. As a Department of Education teacher for the last 35 years, and unfortunately forced to retire due to extreme pesticide poisoning, we need to stand in defense of the children right now. The world is in crisis. Our planet is dying. We can't afford to take any risks with the water, with the land, with the Aina. We need to grow organic food for our children. We need to turn things around. We don't have any more time. We don't even have another, maybe a minute. We don't have time to mess around with these things. The water's polluted, it goes down to the ocean. We're already having trouble with our coral. Our coral reefs are dying because they don't have the fresh water coming in so that we can be able to feed our people. That's what our focus should be, growing food. Telescopes looking in space is going to help us, any of us, survive. We have a crisis. The streets around the world are filled with young people. They don't show you on the news. I threw my TV out 10 years ago, so I have to find out these things, but I find out from sources that tell you the truth. And if you take a look, the streets are full every Friday and every day in every country in Europe about climate change. Kona has had rain every day for a week, all day and night, pouring. I've lived here forever and it's unusual, it's changing. And if that much rain and the changes are not taken into account on the Mauna, what's going to happen? We don't know. So thank you very much. Let's all work for the future. Let's really look at what's happening. One more thing, very important, and I'm not afraid to say this. With what they're putting in our skies, have you heard of geoengineering? Chemtrails. It's not conspiracy theory. You look up, one day they're out there and you see all these feathery clouds and strips of clouds. The next day, you do not have any clear sky. 2 days ago it happened, I watched it, there's pictures on my Facebook page, you can witness it. How is the telescope going to work if there's no sky? Thank you. I oppose this.
Geronimo.
Hello everybody, my name is Geronimo. I'd like to state that everybody that's spoken so far has been in opposition. I myself am also in opposition. I'm asking you guys to listen to your constituents. Us, we're not for it, and I have multiple reasons. I work in construction, I can tell you it won't be a clean job. That's been stated before. Culturally, it's insensitive. That's holy land, that's sacred land. Science won't bring you closer to God. God lives on top of the mountain. Respect the culture here. I'm not Kanaka, but I will fight for them. If you try to build that, I will be up there. We are the mountain. You're not going to get away with this easily. This is public hearing. Listen to us. We don't want this. You're going to destroy cultural lands. You're going to destroy the ecological lands. If you take water from the top, it's been stated, it will take water from the runoff further down. We need water. Water is life. Future wars won't be fought for petroleum. They'll be fought for clean drinking water. 75% of the world's covered in water. Like 2% of that is potable. By potable, I mean drinkable. Water is very important. When future generations, if we have several generations to come, ask what did we do? This is us doing it right here. We're fighting against this construction. I'd like to ask for a contested case hearing as well. Thank you for the time.
Just to use my regular voice, put this down. Greg Johnson.
Hello. I'm Greg Johnson. I'm a visitor from Colorado, and my comments will be very brief, and they will reiterate points others have made. And my primary observation is this. As an outsider, I watched with interest the press meeting last week with the governor and the attorney general, President Lee, Susan Hayes. And I believe it was the attorney general who gave the distinct impression that this meeting was but a formality. That is, that this was a foregone conclusion already. And as an outsider, again, but someone who participates in a broader democracy, I worry for our democracy. Of course, worry about large-scale violence, wars, and so forth, but also subtle forms of violence, of permits before hearings, of hearings with listeners, and so forth. And I've always thought of the state of Hawaii as a grand place in terms of immigration policy, same-sex marriage, and so forth. It's a state that can do better than this. And so I would hope that you honor the stipulations of your own procedural rules and really hear what people have to say.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. William Freitas.
Aloha, I'm William Freitas. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming here and giving us a chance to provide testimony. It was very heartbreaking when I kind of heard that this was already a done deal. So with that, I'll just move forward. Number one, with my experience with construction, being the time that this project will take to be completed, and that's just the groundwork and the footing work. The amount of time I would think by the size of it, the footprint of this project is as big as the Aloha Stadium. Now imagine the Aloha Stadium on the top of that mauna being excavated. The area that is to be excavated is over 65,000 cubic feet, I believe. The information is on public record. With my experience with construction, the amount of contaminants that will be laid upon the surface, the subgrade, prior to coating it with concrete or asphalt, it has a high risk of potential pollutants going into the groundwater by the runoff as the building is being constructed. So given a time frame of 3 years, even a year of rain, snow, with those contaminants laying on the surface, prior to them finishing it, it's going to impact that place tremendously. This is not something that we should take lightly. This shouldn't be something that we should take for granted that Mr. Ige has already approved. Okay, so I think he might have made a mistake by chance, and I think that he should be open to the people that have experience on these types of projects. We're talking about asphalt, tar base, we're talking about rust proofing, we're talking about cement concrete compounds that are compounds that, what do you call, waterproof concrete. They have a window between 10 and 2 o'clock to pour concrete. Other than that, it freezes, they get air bubbles in there, they're not going to be able to finish it unless they have new technology. But I know this for a fact. I know that this is going to be tremendous impact on our water. And I hope that Mr. Ige, as a signatory to the Aloha, that gives us people a chance for a contested case hearing. And I would like to request a contested case hearing. I oppose this water permit at this moment. Thank you.
Aloha. I oppose this renewal application permit for the following reason. I am Cindy Freitas, and I represent Mauna Awa Kea, as well as my family who have descendants on all locals. I'm very concerned. I too second motion, everybody who said email kicks back, couldn't access the documents. That is correct. However, I ran up to you guys' department up at Kealakiko, and thank God there was an angel there in a different Department of Health that gave me the documents. Because you guys only got one man running the whole island for the clean water up there. So anyway, I read it real fast. According to the gulches that is on the northern plateau part of Mauna Kea, which is Kamo'ole Gulch, Pu'upaha'a Gulch, Pohaku Gulch, and Waiuku River. You guys missing Kamo'okoa Gulch. You're missing Makea. You guys are missing the Waikolo Gulch, the Kauai High, and the Makoa Gulch is an aqua of Waikoloa as well. The stream rises high on Mauna Kea, about the 8,700 feet elevation in Kaohe, Makoa, and it flows through Pu'uku at the shore. Information by U.S. Geological Survey 1982. Waikolo Gulch is located in the aqua of Waikoloa. The North Fork of Kamo'okoa Gulch raises 11,700 feet elevation on Mauna Kea and joins Makoa at about 2,540 feet elevation. Information by USGS 1982. Kauai High, A'apua, which connects to the A'apua of Kanoi, called Oi, and also runs into Makehua Gulch, about 980 feet elevation, which creates a waterfall. Information by USGS 1956. Pu'upaha'a Gulch, which is the Apua of Puka rises at about 10,500 feet elevation in Kaohe Tract 4, ends at about 3,200 feet elevation in Pu'ukapu. Information by USGS 1956. Those slideshows that you guys gave, one of the concerns in there tells me that therefore on page 3 of the permit rationale, paragraph 2 states there are no assessment report currently to the total maximum daily loads have been established for bodies of water in these gulches. Therefore, you guys need to go back and do an analysis on all those gulches because water does percolate underneath the aquifer. Therefore, applicant has failed to recognize the damage it will do to the culture, the environment, as well as the natural resources and the rightful holder of Mauna Awa Kea. I would like to petition for standing in a contested case hearing, and I have submitted my application with Neil as well as my testimony. Mahalo.
Aroi Kapiko Ke Aloha, Pili Kapiko o Mauna Awa. I'm Ikalani Flores, representing the Flores case Ohana. We collectively and as individuals of Flores case Ohana request a contested case hearing to demonstrate why the Department of Health should deny the renewal application of NPDES permit HIS 000431 and why the permittee should be issued administrative and civil fines for violations as noted. 1. The permittee is in non-compliance with the permittee and the conditions of the permit. There's a failure in the application and during the permit issuance process to disclose fully all relevant facts, and there's misrepresentation of relevant facts in this permit. There's a determination that the permitted activity endangers human health or environment. It can only be regulated to acceptable levels by permit modification or termination. And there are noted violations of the Federal Water Pollution Control Act, Federal Clean Water Act, Hawaii Revised Statutes Chapter 342D, and Hawaii Administrative Rules Chapter 11-54 and 11-55. It's undisputed that the original permit that was issued was for June 12, 2014 and expired June 11, 2019. However, several land disturbance activities have occurred at the proposed 30-meter telescope project site and access way without a valid NPDES permit. Such activities have occurred between August and October 2013. Exhibit A shows heavy construction equipment that was on the mountain at that time and doing land disturbance activities prior to the issuance of a permit. Not only was land disturbance activities included excavation, grading, core boring, drilling, burrowing, and filling was occurring. It's undisputed a permit is needed. However, a permit was not issued and no permit was granted when this was being done. Neither did the permittee at the time, TMT Observatory Corporation, neither did they have a county grading permit while they were doing these land disturbance activities. In addition, they failed to even have any best practices management. Best management practices were not in place at the time. Exhibit C clearly shows that they were excavating and doing these land disturbance activities at that time. In addition to that, there's documentation and evidence to show that there's leakages of toxic pollutant, hazardous substances, and fluids from construction equipment and or vehicles at the proposed site. Instead of cleaning it up, there's evidence to show that either the contractors or other personnel just covered up with dirt. So instead of cleaning up the spots, we noticed that they covered up with dirt to hide the spills up there. This was done without a permit. And in closing, I'd like to say that this is not the only time it has happened. When they had the permit, they did not, and they were doing activities, land disturbance activities on the mountain. They did not follow their best management practices plan. There were no perimeter and barriers put in for discharge, and so they were in violation. And just within the last week after the permit expired, we also have documentation of land disturbance activities that were occurring on the project site and access way. And as with all the permit has been expired and the county permit had also expired. And one last thing before I close is that in the permit application, there's inaccuracies in classifications as noted. Whoever included this map knowingly included a map that's not a detailed map and not a close-up map. With this map, you cannot tell, someone from the public can tell where the classification 1 inland waters are compared to classified 2 inland waters. However, if you were part of the University of Hawaii or the TMT project, you would know where these waters are. That's why the permit is inaccurate. Some of the waters are actually class 1 inland waters, and those are the waters that are adjacent to the batch plan staging area and the Halepohaku staging area. They're directly adjacent to the Mauna Kea Ice Age Natural Reserve area and the Mauna Kea Forest Reserve. Lastly, just in closing, the Department of Health should require a new NPDES permit application be submitted since the permitting has changed to the TMT International Observatory. Likewise, any permit application for these particular lands of Mauna Kea should include the University of Hawaii at Hilo, because they are the actual applicant for the Conservation District Use Permit HA 3568. It is for these mentioned reasons why the permit renewal application should be denied, and why the permittee should be issued administrative and civil fines for violating these statutory laws. And likewise, a new, complete, accurate NPDES permit application should be required to be submitted with the appropriate permittee identified. Thank you for the time to finish up.
Have more to say, please come back around.
And I finished it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to everybody for your best effort at respecting these timelines. I know they're hard. I know that you have many things to say. That's why we want to have you come back around a second time. Jay, now, our slide.
I'm Jennifer, Lena Alas Home. There's not much I have to say that hasn't already been spoken, so I'm going to speak from a place that I know. So I was on the Mauna yesterday on the summit in ceremony, and I was given a message, and I'm sharing it with you because if you stop sharing our messages, then our kupuna will stop speaking to us. So when I was in ceremony, the message I received was I was blessed to be able to be taken deep within my own self, to see an apple of water. And when I sat to think about what that meant, and to feel my feet melting into the dirt and turning into the Mauna, it reminded me that we have to remember that all of the waters that are in ourselves are the same waters that the Mauna holds. And everything that happens above has an effect on everything that happens below. And I was standing in Ka'ohe, and Auntie Pualani Kanahele had spoken once before in Hilo and explained what Ka'ohe is. So just the very name of Ka'ohe, it talks about being the bamboo, the ohe, the instrument that holds water. And that to me was very significant. I'm a resident of Waikoloa, so I am very concerned about the impacts of our water, and we get our water from Mauna Kea. So all I ask is that you put the same effort that they've been putting into like green lighting all of these permits and all of this stuff for the project to be built, and really take a look and really study, because water is important. And we need to ensure that we have clean water for our future generations. Mahalo.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you so much. I'm going to go phrase.
My name is Wako, and I want to come forward to you folks today in opposition of this permit. Like much of the things that were said earlier already, there is multiple problematic reasons why we should all oppose this. And I also strongly urge the Department of Health to take in the voice of the community that's here today, the people that are being impacted directly by these decisions. But to allow the monstrosity of projects such as TNT atop a sacred site such as Mauna Kea, it already poses a serious health risk to the community. And this health risk affects the religious, cultural, and genealogical connections and Pilina to the Mauna. This permit would take the poison that's already concentrating itself, the eha, the hewa, that's already occurring on the Mauna. And this permit allows it to spread to the rest of the island, to the rest of Ko Hawaii Pai'aina. And on top of this proposed TNT project, it will significantly alter the environment as well as the fragile resources found atop the Mauna. And so the question is, why are we even here? As laid out clearly, TNT, they're applying for a pollution control permit. So it's obvious there's going to be pollution. Why are we polluting conservation land? Why are we polluting sacred sites? Why are we polluting our wauhua? No pollution should be the only option. You know, especially considering our history and our polluting of that law, as well as your recognition of its conservation status. And this was pointed out earlier by multiple other kiai, but because of the words of Ige and Claire Connors and Suzanne Case, you know, we understand that you as a board have executives looking down on you with certain expectations. But we also want to encourage you to think of, you know, the very real consequences that will come out of your decisions. You know, to permit and give approval to this project is to be just as complicit in the perpetuation of the university's blatant mismanagement of Pumpkin. It is to be just as complicit in the permitting of harmful runoff and chemicals on and through lands classified as conservation status. It would be just as complicit in the actions of the UH and DHHL in violating our sites of prayer. It would be just as complicit in prioritizing and promoting the health and well-being of a private corporation over Hawaii's own communities. And it will also be just as complicit in provoking a state of civil disobedience and prompting the mass incarceration of many Kanaka Tapanona, who are only there just to protect it. So the gravity of these decisions you have before you today, you know, is great. And the gravity of the kuleana you bear is even greater. And the standard of health you represent goes well beyond permitting the proposal of a pollution permit for TMT. You know, we will stand for what is going on and we won't go away. We will be fierce in our aloha, you know. But we ask that you do the same as well. Say no to the pollution control permit and say no to TMT.
I'm sorry, I can't read the last name. Anike Limsong? My apologies. My eyes. Sorry.
My name is Zia. I'm just going to be brief. I oppose the re-permit. I think that the future of this move is worth going through all the checkpoints all over again and making sure that everything is on. Because it affects all of us, not just us, our families. And then I too request a case hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Okay, we're coming on a second round. Deborah Ward.
The testimony I submitted was submitted on behalf of Sierra Club, and I'd like to speak to my own concerns. And that is that this water that rains on the top of our mauna is just as sacred to us as the mountain itself. It's our life, it's our sustenance, and living 2,000 miles from any other land area, it's the only water we have, and it really needs to be protected. And every document that I read during the contested case hearing last time, and I've pointed out those documents and I've quoted from them extensively in the other testimony, reflects the fact that this water will, maybe some of it will end up in a seep or a spring that comes out of the mountain at a lower elevation, but virtually all of it will end up in the high-level aquifer. And the high-level aquifer is where the Waimea aquifer comes from. And so, and it's already at 86% capacity, which means that at the next COWAR meeting in Honolulu, they will actually be discussing a boundary change so that they can gerrymander it, so they can build more and take more water. Now, this water is already at 86%, which means that it's already serving the people of Waimea and Waikoloa, and there isn't that much of it. They need to have more in order to build more development, but they don't have more. And so they're going to stretch the boundaries and move them around a little bit. But it does mean that this water that's so precious to us is already challenged by overdevelopment. And it's going to be challenged by pollution as well, because every single document that they stated that they used in order to get the permit said that that water will go into the aquifer. And the aquifer is high level, and it's important for the people of our island. So as much as the dismissive and arrogant attitude of the governor and the state attorney general and the director of the Department of Land and Natural Resources were to the people of Hawaii and their decision to do the things that they did last week, which are extremely painful and offensive and dismissive and colonial, they dismiss the importance of the Mauna to the people who live here, and the importance of the water, and the importance of the spiritual. I don't even know how to say it. I've lived here 52 years, and it means so much to me that it's hard for me to explain how difficult it is to have somebody from another island or somebody from a university who says, none of your concerns matter to us, because everything that we are going to do will override your concerns. And basically that's what they're telling us. I wanted also, I know I'm out of time, but I wanted to point out that this document is not only inaccurate in that a lot of the material in here is incorrect, but it also says background material will be available for public review upon request. Well, I can assure you that I've been into the Department of Health several times, and I've asked this class, the clerical staff, for information, and I've gotten nowhere with it. So the background information is not available for public review. I put my name on the back of it, but it doesn't mean I'll ever get it. I really think that you folks are doing this pro forma hearing without any consideration of the fact that it really does mean something, and that you need to address what it is we're talking about. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Deborah. Thanks so much. Susan Rossi. Thank you both for coming back around a second time.
Thank you for allowing it. So I was talking to you folks about trucking. I know a lot about it. And I was going to talk about the aquifers, and City Phrase did such a great job at that. And if you need to see any reference to the USGS reports that she gave you, if you look in the S series, of the evidence in the DLNR website referring to the contested case hearing for Mauna Kea, you'll find them. Her series is S, and it's in S18. I know, because I submitted it. I worked with Cindy and many of the other people on the Mauna. So, we have a contractor who is like every other contractor, and they cut corners where they can. And they do it all the time. It's part of business. They're in it for the profit. They're not in it to preserve things. And I'm not saying anything against this particular company, because I know this company very well, and like most companies that have been here for a long time, they care. They just don't care past their pocketbooks. So if we don't analyze what they're doing and what the amount of water is that they're going to be bringing up and down the Mauna constantly, not even to mention the cement trucks. The facility that is going to be used to produce the cement is right by the NARS, which is the Natural Area Preserve. Yeah? And it's a very, it's listed in the historical National Preservation Act. In fact, Mauna Kea was supposed to be listed in that act, but it was pulled by this fraudulent state from application. Although in the National Historical Preservation Act handbook that explains what the act is about, because the act is like a book, Mauna Kea is the example that they list for other places to recognize a historical, natural monument like Mauna Kea. So what we're dealing with here is a national monument, even though the state chose, because they are a business and it's going to be profitable after all, they chose to withdraw Mauna Kea from that national act. And in doing so, that opened up what they've been able to do to Mauna Kea and the desecration that they have done. And I know I'm almost out of time, but probably the last week or two. And so this process that we're sitting here talking about has been set up to just let everybody talk, make sure you get to the numbers on the list. And so many people came and checked that off the list. Okay, we're passing it. Please don't do that. You have been through what we were through a few years back. We don't want to do this again, but we will. And not only will we, the entire world will be coming to this island. And be sure when you go back to Honolulu that you tell your boss that we have plenty of room on this island to house them, because all the islands in the chain can fit inside of us, and we still have plenty of land mass. So we welcome the world to come and stand with us on that Mauna. If we need to, we will see you on the Mauna.
Thank you. Shelley Mulioka.
I'm actually going to start at the end since I ran out of time and worked backwards this time. So I want to start with the offer that the CWB would be making like some kind of frequently asked questions or some kind of page that would address people's questions. I specifically wanted to ask if the process for a contested case could be outlined there, with the requirements for how to successfully file for a contested case be explained so that people can access that, because many people have called for it today, and I know there's very specific filing requirements. I also wanted to ask how people can report violations, like Okukalani shared here tonight. I was shocked when I called and found out that this permit is a self-enforced permit, meaning that TMT has to tell themselves if they're in non-compliance, which I think is ridiculous, particularly because the project is in a really remote area, so the likelihood that people are going to be passing through is somewhat low. Particularly if the rules that the Office of Mauna Kea Management are attempting to pass right now pass. A little bit slower, okay. Particularly if the proposed management rules that the Office of Mauna Kea Management have put forth are passed, which attempt to limit access to Mauna Kea, specifically to the TMT site, and that's already happening. We've seen it happen before, and it's ongoing. The use of state police power as well as private security companies And as Uncle Kalani Flores was sharing, the importance of citizen enforcement and how that's going to be impeded, and already has been. Okay, other things. Oh, one of the best manager practices talk about using vegetation as a way to stabilize the soil, but there's no mention of prohibitions against bringing in invasive species, both plant and animal. So when you talk about perennial vegetation, we need to add something in there about it not being an invasive type of plant. I'll be back here. Okay. There's confounding language on the website, so it does list the expiration date for the last permit as June 11, 2019, and then it curiously has this little box that says extended, but it doesn't have a date or a rationale or a decision of when the permit was extended. And so my question is, how is it going to be determined when the expiration of this new permit is issued? Is that going to be when they applied for the renewal? Is it the date of this hearing? Is it the close of this comment period? And as you can see, this time around, that level of detail matters. The last thing I wanted to say was that I was really offended by your comment earlier when you said that we're going to make this hearing as expeditious as possible, because I don't think the goal should be, briefness and quickness and brevity. It should be that people are heard, and yeah, I just wanted a different goal for this time together. That's all. Mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. McCullough.
I'd like to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to speak. Sheriff Manaho. My name is Christopher McCullough. I'm the current president of the Landscape Industry Council of Hawaii. It's the state organization that oversees the landscape industry. I'm also a board member of the Hawaii Island Landscape Association, which is our local Keawe Landscape Association. And I just wanted to, I was inspired to go on record to say that I oppose this permit, and that I would like to request a contested case. Like Susan Jose and Billy Freitas, I've been in the construction industry all my life, my entire career, and I know that construction is very polluting. So I think it's very important that the Board of Water consider how polluting construction and the length of this period and how polluting this project is going to be. And so I don't really have much more to say other than Viola, water is life. Mahalo.
Thank you. Geronimo.
So I'm back, and I just
Can you
want
restate your name?
Oh, Geronimo, still. Hey, everybody. I just wanted to reiterate that everybody here is in opposition. Once again, no one is a proponent for this. That means no one here has taken their mouth, opened it, and be like, yes, please build that. No one here wants that. I need to make that very loud and clear. I also want to say shame on the DLNR for last week's actions. That is shameful. Shameful on the mayor. Shameful on the governor. And on the police force. Like, you can do better than that. Earlier I had a tangent on cultural sensitivity. Well, where is your sensitivity training? Like, what are you guys doing? Your guests here with an illegal occupation, and across saddle you're bombing things. So I would reiterate that I am in opposition, and I want a contested case here. And I'm pretty sure there's many other people that wanted to be here. I live in Puna. A lot of other people live on other sides of the island. Maybe we could do this again. But a lot of other people are gonna, this was stated earlier, the emails are not getting through. Transparency is not there with the paperwork. What are you guys gonna do to make this better and show more transparency? Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Geronimo. And Barbara Riley.
Hawaii Cancun. My name is Dr. Barbara Riley. I'm a proud graduate of the University of Hawaii at Manoa, but I stand in opposition to this permit and also to the building of the TMT. I'd like to address that around the world it seems that people who stand for water, and it was just said water is life, that truly is the case. Water, we need water for our very life. But it seems around the world that corporations have have more power over the community. And it's almost like an Orwellian situation, why water protectors are deemed as criminals and portrayed as the evil ones, but corporate greed is allowed to continue. We stand for this honua, this planet. This is just a piece of the puzzle, the water permit, but we stand in opposition. When I listen to some of the propaganda that goes out on the television and that is in favor of TMT, it says we're looking for life on other planets. And I think, well, what are you going to share with the life that you find? Are you going to say, oh, well, we trampled on the culture and the people that live here in order to find you? Or another piece that I see is that they're going to say, maybe we're going to look for other planets that we can live on. My question is, why don't we take care of the land and the planet that we are on right now? This is all we have. And so I'd like to stand with those who protect the water and the rights to stand for Mauna Kea. And to ask us to listen to the Kanaka Maoli, the people who are of this land, who know this land, who have their ancestors buried here, who know the ways of this land, that we listen to their wisdom rather than to that of corporate greed. So, mahalo nui loa for this opportunity.
Thank you. This concludes all the names that have signed up to speak, and I want to thank you for your most respectful comments. I know there's strong passions on this, but I just really appreciate the respect you've shown procedurally tonight. Lou, you want to recognize others?
I just wondered if you could just re-clarify what the
Yes,
steps
speak loud.
Oh, sorry. I would like to know if you can just re-clarify before we all leave what the steps are after this and what we can expect to see online or in response, or will there be a timeline on the response? And could you also give me a count, because Mr. Chun needs to know how many people are here tonight. If you could give us a count of how many people are here, but if you could explain everything, that would be great. Thank you.
I can tell you that 30 people spoke. Some of that 30 spoke to a number of times, so it's a little less than actual numbers.
Thank you.
Lou, you know, what I believe is that we've extended the deadline. We know that there were some problems emailing your testimonies and comments in, acknowledged that there were some issues on that happened at DOH at their end. So the problem's not by anybody here. We extended to July 2nd, close of business, end of the day. Please submit any further comments you want or anything that didn't get through. My understanding is that it will all be posted along with this transcript. That's my understanding. Daryl, am I correct? Okay. You bet. And the questions and your request for contested case here, everything goes up. Everything's on the record. Look, thank you again for doing this. Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
I had another question. Oh, so you addressed that the emails were being bounced back, and that was one problem. But the other problem you talked about were the lack of access to the documents on the site. So I was wondering if that would be remedied before July 2nd, which is only 1 week from today.
I hope so. I don't know that. I can't answer that.
Sorry, this is not directed at you.
It's going to be. They're going to make every effort to do that.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Look, why don't I suggest that we break up? You're free to come up, talk, and spend time talking to people here from the DOH, and thank you again for coming tonight. Thanks.